Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to show you how to make steak au poivre using this massive filet mignon and a classic preparation of steak and potatoes with a little twist. I'll be cooking all of this in an air fryer, and not just any old air fryer, the Dreo Airfyer ChefMaker, which is basically like a little mini combi oven. I have to give Dreo a big shout out for sponsoring this video and making the best air fryer experience I've ever had, but don't take my word for it, go grab one and you will not regret it. Link will be in the description below, along with the giveaway, so don't miss it. Okay, let's get into the recipe. Okay, so first things first, you want to get a 2-inch thick cut ribeye for this recipe and let it air dry overnight, and then bring it to around room temperature before seasoning generously with salt on both sides. Set the Dreo air fryer to chef mode, choose beef, then go to the ribeye setting and you have the option to use sous vide or classic. I'm going with the classic mode for time's sake and a more traditional cooking style. Insert the probe and begin the cooking process. Just don't forget to add water to the machine because it uses the hydration to help cook the meat evenly as it comes up to temp. About halfway through the cooking process, add a few pads of butter to the steak, along with some rosemary and thyme, then continue cooking. For the potato stacks, you're going to grab a few extra large Yukon Gold potatoes, cut the ends off, and then slice them to the thickness of a credit card or maybe even a bit thinner. You can do this using a mandolin or veggie sheeter like the one I have here. At this point, the steak should be done, so remove it from the air fryer and let it rest on a different tray while you prep the rest of the potatoes. While the steak is resting, you're going to stack all those thinly sliced potatoes to about 2 inches tall and cut them into concentric squares. Salt the tops of the potatoes and arrange them on the Dreo air fryer tray, leaving a little space in between each square. Set the machine to classic air fryer mode and cook these at 325 to 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 minutes. I went a bit too hot in the beginning for these, but eventually turned it down to the correct temp. When the potato stacks are done, you're going to transfer them to a bowl and season generously with salt when they're super hot. Now, to plate the steak and potatoes dish, you're going to slice up the very thick cut ribeye into nice slices and place it right down onto the plate. Add the stacks right next to it, stack them as tall as you can for presentation's sake. A little ketchup on the side, some herb butter, has a little bit of rosemary and thyme in it, sea salt over the top, and you are ready to rock. This was an incredible premium ribeye steak that was cooked beautifully and had just about edge-to-edge mid-rare temp even without the sous vide technique. The potato stacks were as crispy as ever. All in all, this was a fantastic and ridiculous easy way to prepare one of my favorite dishes. Now on to the steak au poivre. Of course, before you get started, give the station a good wipe down to get reorganized, and now it's time to grab my insanely beautiful filet mignon that has been air chilled and brought to room temp. This is a very pretty steak if you ask me. Nonetheless, season all sides with a generous amount of salt, then crack some whole black peppercorns into a coarse grind. Then you're going to place the top side of the filet onto the peppercorns to create a peppery crust. I'm going to cook the filet the same way I did the ribeye using the chef mode classic style cooking method since it did such a good job on the first steak. Also, while the steak is cooking, it's a good time to prep out some sliced chives for a garnish. When the steak is finished cooking, transfer it to a tray and let it rest for about 10 minutes before you slice it. While the steak is resting though, you're going to pour the drippings from the peppered steak into a saucepan and put it on medium heat. Add in some shallots or onions and sweat them for a minute or two. At this point, you can add in brandy or cognac, but I decided to forego the alcohol and added in a sprig of rosemary instead. Pour in the heavy cream and reduce by half, and if you have any extra drippings from the rested steak, I highly recommend adding that into the sauce at this time and season with a pinch of salt. Once the steak is well rested and the sauce is finished, slice up the steak and it's time to plate all this up. Of course, the steak goes down first onto the plate, then a few spoonfuls of that delicious au poivre peppery cream sauce right over the top, and finally a generous heap of chives to finish. And that is a very good looking steak au poivre if you ask me. If you're looking for a toned down version of this recipe, I recommend using red and green peppercorns instead of black since they're on the sweeter side. But all in all, this steak au poivre was hard to beat. Crispy, peppery crust. The cook on the meat was beyond perfect, maybe even a bit more accurate than the ribeye. And the peppery cream sauce is just to die for. I hope you all enjoyed the recipe, and I highly recommend going out and grabbing a Dreo Airfyer. Absolutely worth every penny and some. Subscribe, like, and comment down below if you enjoyed the recipes, and I'll see you next time with another one. Bon appetit, everybody.